All righty. It seems to me that we're live now, so I just needed to show up on my screen so I can see you. And tonight I gotta clear this off so it won't echo. Let me find you. You still hear me, right?
I hear you fine.
Awesome, awesome.
Now you can see my messy office. And now you disappeared. So it's only me here, apparently.
What?
I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah. All right. Now, hey, this is, this is funny. Anyway, I did this. Yeah, I kicked myself out, so it's my fault. Anyway, this is the second time I did this. I did this with the interview I had with Elling from the Gattes Parliament rap group. Anyway, so this is the second time ever happening. Anyway, tonight we have Glenn Petter Sætre, and your last name Sætre is the first town that I moved into in Hurum Kommune when I came to when I came to Norway in 2012.
Yeah.
Because if you don't realize and know that I'm an African American, I've been living in Norway since 2012, and Sætre was a town that I lived in for about 4.5 years in Hurum Kommune. So you're the first person that I've heard of besides the Sætre cookies and the Sætre town, which a lot of people think that, when I was living in Sætre, that it's a town where the cookies. I was like, no, there's another town of Sætre, and then now your name Sætre, so I definitely will remember it.
I think there are many Sætre around the country. So
is there any history behind that? Your last name is Sætre, or?
Well, my Sætre, that's actually from my stepfather.
Okay. And before
he and his brothers took the name because they were working at the farm named Sætre in north of Oslo in Eidsvoll kommune.
Okay.
Yeah. So
now Glenn Petter Sætre is an evolutionary biology professor in University of Oslo.
That's right.
And he's very heavy into genetics, the genome, molecular ecology, and hybridization, and all kinds of stuff that and you co-written a textbook with Mark Rovene from the UK.
That's right.
A textbook for undergrads to postgrads in 2019 was published. It was called Evolutionary Genetics Concepts, Analysis, and Practice Overview by the Oxford University Press. And it as you stated, I heard you say on the interview with the Oxford University Press about how it needed to be updated. The last time that it was updated was years ago, correct?
Time you guys... the field of evolution and genetics is advancing very rapidly.
Right.
Particularly due to technological advances in genomics. So we generate huge amounts of data, and we need computers to be able to analyze all this data.
Right.
And the textbooks that were available, they were sort of predated that technological revolution. So we really felt the need for an updated book that took this new technologies into account. These are important tools for students and researchers these days. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you deal with I read some of your bio that you're fascinated by the roles of speciation, adaptation, and behavior play in evolution of life on Earth. And in particular, you deal with speciation when it deals with birds and things like that. And can you explain a little bit of speciation? I've looked on it about.
So I mean, you can think of microevolution.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the things that we are experiencing these days with the coronavirus, right? That
Right.
it mutates, and the new variant, like the Omicron variant,
Right.
gets an edge over the previous version, and increases in frequency and outcompetes the other one. That's kind of microevolution, and we can observe that regularly. And then you have macro evolution, which is like how fossils change over geological time,
Right.
and the study of long-term trends in the history of life, and kind of bridging those two timescales. You have the actual lineage splitting, where one species splits and becomes two. So that it is those processes occurring during lineage splitting that I'm particularly interested in. What kind of evolutionary changes are occurring when one species becomes two?
Right. And usually now when they talk, they in general, when they talk about species, they're talking about of a same type of organism or being that can, that basically when it comes to procreation as well, correct? When it deals with life, like well, whether it's dogs or humans or whatever, but it's like given, two organisms or whatnot, where they're able to, procreate, to right, interbreed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I read up on it. They're talking about zygotic, pre-zygotic, post-zygotic.
Yeah. So and there is actually this is actually one area of evolutionary biology where we have
or
genetics has
allo.
taught us a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
Because we used to think that these barriers to gene exchange, they were very
Right.
important, and that the species could be easily defined, like the horse and the donkey, they can
Mule.
hybridize, but
Right.
hybrid is sterile, and therefore
Oh.
the horse and the donkey are distinct species. But actually, that's not entirely true.
Okay.
Some hybrids of even of the horse and donkey, they are actually fertile. So that means that genes can flow from one species into the other.
Right.
These barriers are not as
Clear-cut
waterproof as we used to think.
Right.
And that also can have some interesting consequences. Like it's probably known to many now that our ancestors interbred with different humans,
right,
like the Neanderthals,
right,
thousands of years ago, and
we're shown that in the
so
DNA test.
Europeans, for instance, have some little proportion of the Neanderthal DNA in our genomes.
Right.
So these things have effects, and actually, this one of my study species, hybridization has been so important that actually the hybrid lineage, so to speak, has become a new species, distinct from either of the parents. So that's kind of a very special way that some species also can originate.
Right. That's what I've read a little bit on that. Like you stated, I heard about the species, for species hybrids, reproductive isolations, allopatric speciation, sympatric speciation, stuff like that. And I read up on a little bit about hybridization, but it must have been some kind of old studies that I read upon how, but like I said, you must be on some kind of breakthrough studies of it? Because
Yeah, I think it's
when it comes to fertility, as far as hybridization, they didn't talk much on that. Or what I've read, I guess, from old studies, that it wasn't, when it comes to hybridization, it wasn't too easy to get fertilization through that process or something. I don't know. This is a whole new field.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what the hell I was getting to, Angie. But
it is true though that
yeah.
you have more or less strong barriers against gene
Right.
flow, and that's what makes biodiversity not a blur, but you can recognize phenotypically distinct clusters, like you find one species of bird and another species of bird, and we very rarely see intermediates between them. Right? That's how we observe nature, and of course these various barriers to gene exchange are important for why we observe the world as such.
Right. Now, before we get into some things, I discovered some things recently as I was looking you up. Last minute, actually. That's why I got thrown off a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, first, I like, Richard, you said you like some of my edgy memes and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Well,
a lot of good humor in your
right. Well, I definitely like some of your edginess as well. I realize you have a bit of an edginess yourself. We could start off with the NRCO 2016 article about ett problem att vi icke tør å snakke om menneskeraser. When you get into that subject there, talking about the different genetic differences, which is true. Which is
genetic
true.
structuring and
right.
That's
right. No, there's two main subjects that I want to get into, and then there's a third one that's off on the side note. But this part, as far as genetic differences, which I agree with you. I mean, I don't think it takes a rocket science or a geneticist to realize that as well. But I like that you're speaking out about the differences, and you also acknowledge that racism exists, and and things like that, the social structures and all that. But could you get a little bit into like, as you said, we cannot escape reality, genetic differences, about the different human races, and then I read somewhere in there where you said about maybe more, but under 600 genes, there are large differences actually of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important now to be very clear on a few things. I mean, the way that the racists in the 19th century defined races, that's bullshit, right? You cannot say that people from here or there are any better or things like that. But my point was that when we are studying plants or animals, we are looking at how genetic variation is structured geographically.
Right.
And then we, to be able to communicate, we see that, for instance, we see that a bird species, they look different when they're in the north compared to how they look in the south. And then we talk about these are different races, or whether this species or something like that. And my point is just
allopathic and sympathetic, right?
Yeah, exactly. My point is basically just that like these things like 23andMe, My Heritage, that's become very popular, right? And by sending in our genetic profile, we can they can say that okay, you have ancestry from this region of the world and this region of the world, and I mean,
even you look like
that's it.
True. Even you look like you have a background. Do you know some of your genetic?
I've done this. Yes, I have a background from
Italy.
Italy, yes. Southern Europe.
I didn't even. I'm just looking at you. I swear to
Yeah,
God, I
exactly.
never seen. Yeah, yeah.
And also from the UK, Scotland.
Okay,
I
okay,
knew about that. My mother is half English,
okay, okay,
and I have some from Poland, some genes from Poland,
okay, okay,
and
okay,
then maybe a little bit of Eastern Asia, long back.
okay, okay.
Hmm.
Good.
A good mix.
And you know, with this being said, the genetic differences, because a lot of people don't, like you stated. Well, what I read in that in our co-article, you know, that a lot of people at the same time try not to, you you know, because it's cancel culture these days. You know, it's you know, people cancel you out once you start to say certain things. Like you know, you point out they are even, you know, it's, you know, it was an unhealthy way or a dangerous way, and how like the Nazi regime and other people. Well, you got, well, we're in an area where Linnaeus, you know, and they even, what, they still got a school named after him, I believe, in Sweden, correct? So
Hmm.
it's not like yeah, it's far-fetched. But and there's also like for medical use, as you pointed out, correct? Sometimes
Yeah, I mean
and
the differences that we do find,
like you said, blood
they
thinners.
are typically local adaptations. So I mean, obvious things like skin color. That's
Right,
we are not exactly sure what the adaptations are for, but
right.
some have suggested that it has to do with in part for protection against UV radiation, and on the other hand,
I would think so.
the
Yeah,
synthesis of D vitamin. So like here up in the north, it's very
right,
little sunlight, so we need lighter skin to produce enough D vitamin. So that's a local
right,
adaptation, basically. Mm.
right. But when you
But
but
then, of course, for medicine, it can also be important
right,
because
right. You
there
talk
are,
about blood thinners and some
yeah,
examples like
exactly.
that.
There are some medicines, for instance, they can a dose which is good for you and me can
Yeah,
be ultimate for a guy from Japan, for instance.
right.
It's
Makes
important to
sense.
know about these genetic differences when it comes to medicine sometimes.
Right, right. No, because I was wondering where you, and then I think there was a sociologist in the same article, or whatever, speaking about how we should be careful on how we point out or talk about these differences or bring to light these differences.
And I
Uh,
agree. I agree.
Oh,
We should be
okay.
careful.
Right, right. No, I was just because I was wondering where the origin of this came from. Like,
Okay,
if it
the
was
origin.
if it was just somebody trying to speak out about, hey, we're different, you know what I mean, and then
Yeah,
suddenly,
I can tell you where it came from. So it
yeah,
was
I was just
a
curious.
Norwegian TV show called
Yeah.
Hjernevask,
Okay.
Brainwash,
Okay.
by famous comedian called Harald Eia.
Okay.
And he had a series of programs where he took up controversial issues.
Oh, okay.
And he interviewed researchers from the social sciences to
Got
have
you.
their take on these matters.
Because I was
And
wondering
then,
how this
and then
how
he
this.
interviewed more like
Yeah.
people from evolutionary psychology,
Right. Right. Right.
biology,
Right.
who had
Right.
very different views on things.
Got you.
And one
Okay.
of these programs, they dealt with race or I mean variation
Got you.
in humans. And I
Got you.
was asked to contribute as a biologist to a debate, which was organized by a
Yeah.
newspaper.
Yeah.
And
Because I saw a picture of you on some little debate thing
yeah,
on NRCO, but
so,
that's the part I didn't really look
so
into. Yeah.
in that debate, I pointed out these things that, well, yeah, we do find some genetic structuring of genetic variation in humans.
Right.
And if we had been any other species where these things are not laden, we would have used terms like racial structure, or that was basically my only point. Mm.
Right. 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 And then I also saw another article by Net Avisen called was it Crystal Clarum Schern, who yeah, what do you say, are agently
About
problem
about
about
sex and
yeah, about
gender.
the sexual gender differences, correct?
Yeah.
And so
So
that was another kind of
yeah,
subject or whatever that's kind of popular, whatever, that I
that's
saw
another
you delved into.
That's another debate now. That's
Right.
quite,
Definitely.
what should I say?
Well, it's a talk now because I even on my Facebook, as you know, with the edgy memes, my most controversial, where I get a lot of sometimes heat from is when I post something about transgender when it comes to
Hmm.
sports.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
So
because I've stated my opinion and stood on it
yeah.
compared to some others where I said that and it was probably twice that I posted about that. And what I'm talking about, I talked about women rights because I'm for women
Hmm.
rights, I'm for human rights.
Yeah.
But I've talked about, in my opinion, that from what I've read, I said I'm no scientist, but from what I've read, that I feel that transgenders, when it comes to sports, I still think that more studies need to be done, and that it's that it's unfair advantage for it's unfair advantage against women. I've said that in a
Yeah, that's
post, but not.
for trans women, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. For
the
trans
other
women.
way around
Yeah,
is
yeah. I'm saying that
actually for
I feel that the
trans
trans.
men,
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the
they
trans.
are disadvantaged. So
Yeah, I feel like the transgender has more advantages.
yeah, yeah, for in
Yeah,
the female
yeah,
class.
in the
Hmm.
female class when it
Hmm.
comes to sports, and sometimes a lot of and the women have the disadvantage. So
Yeah.
say that, but I've stated that a couple of times. That's my most controversial when I get all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff, and sometimes they think that when I say that that they don't. I'm saying that they don't have transgender don't have any right in sports, and I'm like, no, I want them to have. I want anybody to have rights in sports. Of course, why not? I love
Hmm.
sports. I absolutely love sports. So, but all I'm saying is when it comes to competitiveness and things like that, especially these international, when it comes to combative sports too, and as I could have named a bunch of cases, but I
Hmm.
didn't want to get too much deep into those conversations.
You
And then when
recall I answered you actually on that question.
yeah,
Yeah. So my take on this is that it's pointless to be very or to
because you
go
target this
into a
question.
cultural war here. I mean, these things are practical problems, right?
Yeah,
Everyone should be able to do sports. Sports is fun.
no doubt.
And we should try to make it as fair as possible. So one way we can do it, like in wrestling, we do have weight classes. Why not have more classes for sports where a trans woman would have an edge over a biological woman, right?
Right, right,
Problem solved.
right, right.
Yeah.
For sure. And you,
So
yeah, and you,
so
and you was gonna just say about so according to this subject though about being crystal clear as you said or they said in this article with you involved in it when it comes to gender and identity fast eller fitna you know what's your
yeah.
some of
So
that
okay. So the thing
you
is
gotta
that
step out there, man. You gotta give your
yeah,
opinion, man. You ain't gonna
the
skirt
thing
around me, man.
this started. This
Cause I got
started.
one thing for you that you can't skirt around later.
Okay, okay. I'll tell you how this started. It was a few newspaper articles by medical doctors
Yeah.
who made claims that I reacted on. So they said that hey, we doctors have been wrong all the time. There are not. It's not as simple as the two sexes. It's
Right.
like a spectrum, and we have all kinds of intermediates and
Right.
yeah, claims like that.
Right.
And based on what I would say are bad theory. I mean,
Mm.
biologically, we define sex as something which has to do with reproduction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for a biologist, we define the sexes based on what kind of sex cells they produce.
Mm.
So the female sex, that's the sex that produces large sex cells. We call them egg cells in animals. And the other sex produce small sex cells, and we call them sperm when it's humans and other animals. And that's the basic, that's the primary difference between the sexes. So everything else that has something to do with sex, that's, I mean, that are secondary traits. And yeah, it's true that, for instance, on average, men are taller than females, right? But you have tall females, and some tall females are taller than short men. So that there is overlap between the sexes. But that doesn't mean that those short men or tall women are intermediate in terms of their sex. They are perfectly good men and women either way. So that's my main message, then, that biological sex is a binary thing, strictly binary thing.
Right.
And then you have things like gender, where things are more fluent, but we should not, we should never challenge that notion that biologically there is a fundamental difference between the sexes, and it's related to the roles the two sexes have in reproduction. And that's biological facts, and that's important to never forget, I think, in these debates that can become quite heated, because you have trans people that biologically are one sex, but identify with the other. And, and that's also a fact, but that's something else than biological sex.
Right. And then I deal with, of course, a lot with religion. And me personally, I'm an atheist. You are too. And which is funny. I was looking up evolutionary biologists and things like that. I actually ran across there is actually a YouTube site where there's a bunch of called Biologos, and I ran across an evolutionary biologist named Jeff Schloss from Westminster College, and he was just listening to he's a Christian, and just listening to his video, he was talking about how evolution. At first, he was looking up evidence of an existence of God, but he was talking so much about love that he became Christian because of existence of love. It didn't make any damn sense to me, and I didn't understand. I thought he was going to give some sort of scientific proofs or something, but he kept talking about God's love and things like that. But my point is, like, do you see any logical sense to any existence or evidences that in your field that points to a creator or a God and things like that, especially dealing with the evolution and genetics? I couldn't understand how
I am an atheist, so I do not, but I think
well, evolution is a thing, and so people need to know that.
Exactly. I mean, in science, we do not deal with such things that we deal with the material world, right? We formulate theories and hypotheses, and we use observations from the experiments and observations of real material things in order to try to disprove hypothesis, and maybe then come closer to some understanding of actual relationships in nature, and that's what science is about. And religion and beliefs in like a omnipotent creator, that's not science. It's out of the scope of it. So you cannot mix the things. You cannot take God into science, basically. You can. It's up to you to believe. You can believe whatever you want. But, keep that out of science class. That's my take on it.
Absolutely. And me being from America, I've read some statistics saying that about, shoot, what, 40% believe in 40% that don't believe in evolution or something like that in America. So that's why this topic constantly it comes
Yeah.
up. And I know
It's
that's
a,
probably that's shocking probably to you
yeah,
when you hear about these things and you realize that, yeah, about 40% in America, if I read that correctly,
yeah. No,
that, yeah,
I hear
yeah,
from
you know.
colleagues in the
So,
US.
and they always talking about how, a lot, especially the fundamentalists, the more extreme side of things, how they don't believe we came from monkeys and apes. I knew somebody personally that didn't believe that, and things like that, and how, I'm like, not only we eventually come from monkeys, we came from the first organism, the first little organism. You know what I'm saying? Like 3.8 billion years ago or something like that, when life supposedly started
Uh,
on Earth, on the planet. 3.8.
about 3.6 billion years ago,
Yeah, 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 yeah. And
or at least.
right,
Yeah, no, I mean, I've talking to colleagues in the US, and they tell
right,
me about a very different world than I experience. So
right.
I rarely have to deal with
No, yeah, nincompoops
creationists,
like that.
but they,
Right.
for them, that's
No.
part of their job is to defend their right to do their work as
Yeah.
biologists and scientists, and
Yeah.
that must be quite
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are questioned all the time.
Right, right. And with that being said, that's probably why you might have been surprised why the hell I reached out to you and things like that. And I kind of jumped the gun when I did. I was like, man, this guy is he's
Yeah.
this subject he has is real heavy. I just want to streamline this bad boy to the exact points of where I'm trying to talk about scientific racism, about humanity, and how we are all pretty much one, although we have genetic differences, and being, and things like that. And also just talking a little bit about evolutionary genetics and how important that is to us as a people, since that is your field, um, and things like that.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So, when did what made you start this journey about genetics, or whatever? What made you? What was the what what sparked your interest in these things?
As a young man, why I wanted to be a biologist.
Yeah.
Well, it's a kind of a two-step thing, I would say. As a little boy,
Yeah.
from about 7, 8 years of age,
Yeah.
I was very much fascinated by nature, like going outdoors, watching birds,
Right.
watching live mammals. It was such a joy for me to observe the living world,
Right.
and also these guys that made programs
Curious.
from Africa, exciting places,
Mm,
lions and cool animals.
right.
I was so fascinated about the living world.
Right. Right.
And then when I was like a teenager, I started to read a lot of different books, Dostoevsky and Hemingway and a lot of things. But I
Mm,
also read a book by Richard Dawkins,
right. I've read it.
namely The Blind Watchmaker, and
Mm,
how he advocated the fun of or the intellectual fun of studying evolutionary biology. It was like mind-boggling to me. It was
mm,
I got so super excited about this combination of intellectual challenge
mm.
and in line with my
Right.
interests for nature.
Right.
The
Right.
combination,
Observation.
that
Hmm.
combination just seemed so appealing. So I was then starting to look for potential supervisors that could teach me evolutionary biology. So
Mm. And
that was
and the,
my way into it.
in your schooling process, you mainly went to, well, I know you got your PhD in University of Oslo, but in your undergrad, were you did you s- were you did you start your schooling in in Norway the whole time, or were you in the?
Yeah,
Okay.
for my studies, I was in Norway all the time. I did have
Okay.
I worked in Sweden for some years
Yeah. Yeah.
in Uppsala.
Okay.
Did what we call a postdoc. So after I
Right.
graduated, I did work as a researcher or a scientist in
Right.
University of Uppsala. And,
And like Darwin, your research focuses on your own birds, right?
yeah, it's mostly on birds.
Right.
But,
Right. 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 And you can learn a lot from birds.
yeah,
Right.
birds
Right.
are,
Right.
uh,
And are there any kind of, what are some of the breakthrough or kind of new studies, well, that you are on now in a way?
yeah.
That,
So
and if you can explain it in layman's terms.
yeah, sure. One of my interests now is to study relationships between animals and humans.
Yeah.
So there are some animals that have that live very amongst us, like in cities or
Okay.
in farms, and one bird is the house sparrow. I mean, they are everywhere. There are humans, you find the house sparrows, and when you go out in the forest or into the mountain or wherever, there are no sparrows. So they are clearly they like it around us.
Right.
So they have, you can say, they have evolution has shaped them to live amongst us. Yet these niches that we provide in cities are very new. I mean, it's only like 10,000 years ago that we started to do agriculture and build small communities. So these are very new adaptations.
Right.
So I'm interested now in learning how these relationships between sparrows and humans came about. What kind of changes has occurred in the sparrows that made them able to exploit our man-made niches, and how that has affected their evolution. So that's one of my interests now.
Right. And so what would you say your biggest influence, Darwin or Dawkins, or I mean your whole journey when you were kind of growing up? I know you talk about Mendel. He's one, right?
I mean, all of these are.
Yeah.
I mean, Mendel did a great contribution in figuring out how genes are inherited in terms of alleles inherited from either parent.
Right.
A very important discovery.
Right.
Darwin,
Absolutely. I would know.
yeah, and I mean, Darwin
Paternity test.
was the founder of evolution. So he understood that organisms have a common descent. That, for instance, that when we go back in time, the humans and chimpanzees had a common ancestor some million years ago.
And we all come back from Africa, right?
Yeah, that too. That was more recent, but we are all Africans, definitely. That's quite recently, actually. It's only some 50, 60,000 years ago that modern humans made it out of Africa. So
there was this new article that I actually posted on my Facebook. I saw on Live Science. It was the Journal of Orita something. So, yeah, damn, it's a difficult word. I wrote it down. It was about it's a suggestion about I don't know if you read it. I've written it down somewhere. Where you at, man? But about a poisonous gas. Something about a poisonous gas.
Okay.
When it comes to the origin of I have to look it up. But anyway, I guess you haven't heard that yet about that. No, it was something about some. Yeah, I would have to be more clear about that. I've written it down somewhere, but I can't find it. I was gonna ask you about that. Anyway, not so important. Yeah, but you wouldn't happen to have any. There's one more thing I'm going to get into, but that's before we get off, and that'll be soon. But so you wouldn't happen to have any slides or nothing like that that you probably no slides that you had prepared at all?
I thought a little bit about it, but
Yeah.
I didn't quite know what we were going to
That's
talk
true.
about.
That's
So
true. That is true. You know, everything was like
but,
last minute and stuff. So yeah, we both kind of weren't as prepared and stuff like that. So that's fine. No problem. Yeah. Um, no, I guess you know, that's pretty much it. Your other things that you do, right? You play the guitar, correct?
yeah, that's true.
You play in the band. Was it called the some Paus Pausifiskene?
Yeah.
Okay. How'd you get that name, or what's so that would
Yeah,
be in English Pausifiskene, like
it's the
fish that
it
needs
will
a
be
break, or
the
no?
it's aquarium fishes basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the like 30 years ago,
Yeah.
the national television channel in Norway
Yeah.
did not have any program. They just
Okay. Yeah.
filmed an aquarium where fishes were swimming around, and those
Oh,
fishes were
okay.
called pausefiskene.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's how you get the name.
we took the name after our first gig. So we were going to play at a university party.
Okay.
And we were kind of excited about this and thought we were going to be like an event during this party and like the main attraction or something. Then it turned out that we were only going to be like a pause entertainment when they were clearing the room.
Right.
One of the other guys in the band said, shit, we are doing nothing but this aquarium fish's pause signal.
Are they university scholars too, or?
Yeah, some of them.
Okay. And so there's like you're not the only guitarist in there.
No, we are two guitarists.
Okay. Is it you play the acoustic, or what kind of?
No, we both do both acoustic and electric. So
okay. How many albums did you guys
we
put out?
We have 2 albums.
2 albums.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys still do little shows, or?
It's been quite slow in the last few years. Unfortunately, it's so good fun to play, but we are busy persons.
What would the genre be? Was it more like folky music, or?
It's rock music, but some of it is leaning towards folk rock, I'd say.
Right. And so because you guys still got some music on YouTube.
Yeah, we have one
some
video
songs
on YouTube. That's true.
Okay. No, because
we have the albums are out on for streaming on any platform like Spotify or whatever. So.
Okay. Now that leads me to one of the songs that I ran across.
Yeah.
You already know what I'm talking about, correct?
Jordenkrig?
Nigger song.
Oh yeah.
Nigger songing. So I had a reaction when I saw that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, and this guy talking about how I got edgy mean. And everywhere I look, when I put Glenn Pitted, I'm like, hold up, he's over here. He's talking about, hey, we need the turtle snuck on Minnesota Rock City.
Yeah.
Crystal clear about Shern. Go on the YouTube, nigga song, and I'm like, what?
Did you understand the lyric?
I didn't understand everything, but I know there's a part where he says.
Walk you through it. So I can walk you through it. The first verse, that's where they gave the name to the song. It's about a young man who is thinking about what he wants to be when he grows up.
I got that.
And the first thing he dreams about is to be
grow old.
A cool blues guitarist, and I mean the coolest blues musicians, they are black guys, with a cool guitar, sweat is pouring, but they're
Right.
singing these sad songs about how life has treated them hard.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Right.
his first dream.
Right.
The second dream is that he wants to be like a really macho guy and
Right.
go into the forest and be a hunter with a huge body, be like a macho guy.
Macho guy.
And
Yeah.
the final verse is that he wants to be
A Negro.
beautiful girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's no part of him saying like, because I thought it was like, grow old. When I
When
grow
I grow
old,
up, I
I
want to
want
be
to be a Negro.
a woman.
Oh.
I want to know how it is be
What?
beautiful like a goddess.
Yeah, I know that
And
part though. I know the woman being the woman, and I know being growing old. But there, you
not
never
old, but grow up. So
grow up. Oh, okay, so there was never
when I
once.
grow up, I want to be a woman. That's the last verse. So then,
Oh, but there. So there.
so basically, all of them is about impossible things like
Okay.
impossible dreams. So
So you didn't. So there was no verses in there talking about I want to be a Negro in the song.
yeah, but it is. But
Oh, okay.
the thing is that
I know that's not the focus.
the focus is that he wants to be a cool blues
Cool.
musician.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
This cool blues musician is black, but
Okay.
that's it.
Did y'all figure it was gonna be controversial when y'all put it out though?
When I wrote it, I didn't think about the controversy. I wrote it quite many years ago, and
All right. 2007, right?
connotation of I mean it was not controversial. It was a more common word for black
Right.
when I
Right. Right.
wrote it.
Okay. Okay.
It's become more sensitive to use that word
Right. 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 Right.
more
Right. Right.
lately.
Right. 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 No, because that. No, I was just saying no, because because at first when I first saw you, I saw the book, the textbook, and I was like, and then I saw the interview at Oxford University Press and all that, and I didn't see the other stuff, from the.
Crazy guy.
I'm like, what? No wonder he, no wonder he allowed me to reach out to him. He was like, I'm like, am I? No. Oh my God, man. No, but it's all good. Yeah. No. So yeah. I guess because there's a on the internet. I don't know if she's there's a female. She's actually a PhD student who is blowing up on the internet. She's growing in the atheist community. I think it's called Gubin, something like that. Because that's the name of one of the primates. What do you call it? Gibbon. Yeah. And so she's studying. That's her studies in humans or whatever.
Mm.
And so she gets on these debate sites now, and I think it's called her YouTube channel is Gibbon something.
Mhm.
And yeah, so she debates a lot, and I was like, that's those pretty cool kind of concepts she got going on, and she's kind of going to debating against some of these fundamentalist Christians or creationists, of course. And so that's kind of how I when I saw you kind of on there, I wanted to kind of bring somebody in to talk about some of these things right here that yeah. um and I was thinking we was gonna tackle some of those things, but as I've you know uh when I really looked into it, I was like, it's kind of silly, and I would had to have time. I should have been able to have time to tell you exactly what I was trying to do, but I was trying to basically get you to do like this lady Gibbon and just start attacking these people. It was like, I can't just pull let me grab a scientist from or somewhere and let's start, but so this whole and then plus it was just very last minute, as you know, like literally a couple of days ago, and you said you got this week, so I was like, well, shit, okay, tomorrow, the next day, and I just, yeah. But anyway, thanks for getting with me. I have no clue where this interview is gonna go or what have you, but I'll leave it on there any damn way. That's how I am. That's how I've been growing my channel.
Yeah.
I've been like, I'm gonna have another interview that's gonna be on the whim too, because I try to plan. There's a historian that I want to talk to
Mhm.
about the origins of racism. I already have one that I spoke to, but there's another one. American professor, but she's in Athens, Greece right now, and she said she'll hit me up like suddenly, when I get there or whatever. And so she hit me up, and so I'm like, okay, this weekend. So now I'm like, I wanted more time. So I actually do want more time. Sometimes it's not always me. And so the people on my channel, they always think, yo, you have all these questions set up. Well, sometimes it's like on a whim when I got it when they're available. And so,
Mm.
and some people don't realize some certain historians or certain books aren't always the popular books that that they have out that's so easy to read, to get into the information, to ask people freaking questions. So I would like somebody to grab like your book, for example, textbook, that doesn't know anything about genetics and start talking about these things off of a whim and trying to, yeah, it's a tough thing. But anyway, yeah, yeah, so uh, the work you've done is fascinating. Obviously, you have, more than I even know right now, I'm sure. And I saw you've written that, I want to say thousands, but you've written a whole bunch of articles and
Not
scientific.
thousands, but more than 100
Right,
scientific papers.
right. And yeah, I couldn't write down all. I know Journal of Ornithology, Biological Sciences, Evolution, Genome, Genes, Hybridization, Molecular Ecology, and also that textbook. But I know that's the only kind of book per se that you've written so far, that you co-authored with the other
Yeah.
evolutionary biologists
Yes.
as far as now. Is there anything else that you're working on in the works that you can speak about?
In terms of books,
Yeah. Or
I'm
books are big time kind of major contributions as far as peer-reviewed articles or anything
yeah, I mean, we are continuing our research, of course.
Right.
That's the main activity.
Right.
I'm writing on a popular science book about
Okay.
birds and sparrows.
Okay. Oh, I remember. And another reason why I did kind of reach out to you, because I did see that thing where you on a debate stage. So that's where I was like, hold up, you know, he's okay, he's into this right here, he's into debate. So I was thinking maybe I can get this guy, and I thought we're gonna have time exchanging, ideas on things. And then it was like, this week I'm available, I'm not so available, much available later. So I just jumped the gun probably, and that's
Yeah,
why
no,
it's kind of everything is. But it's funny because this is how my channel is. Almost not every time, but a lot of times I just go with the flow, and yeah. But
no, I think as a scientist, I think it's important to contribute to the general debate. I think I know things about biology that I think it's important for people to know.
Right.
And I mean, sometimes, and that's of course when I get most publicity,
Is when you
the topics are controversial. Like when I talk about genetic variation in humans, that's controversial. But
like my edgy memes.
It's nevertheless important to not to tell how it is.
Yeah. That's how I got more. I think is more so my edgy memes. I think I got more when I talk about things that are controversial. That's what you get more attention, for, instead of the other stuff. Because I got other interviews that are very interesting, but people seem to go to the ones that are just, popping when it comes to headlines and controversy and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So I guess we'll just end this and let you continue to go about your evening. Thank you for coming into the room. Yeah. And yeah, hopefully whatever future endeavors you have or come about, I'm sure I will see and read about them and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you. And it was very nice to talk to you.
Right.
You continue to thrive in Norway.
Right. For sure. All right then. All right. Appreciate it, Glenn Sætre.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right.
Very nice to meet you.
All right. Yeah.